Howdy folks, Doc here with Last Best Tool. And unfortunately here in Montana there was a sad situation where a woman was killed by a grizzly bear. It happens sometimes, not as often as you might think, but when it does it's pretty traumatic. And so what I'm bringing to your attention is bear spray. And a lot of people think bear spray is not as effective as other things, maybe those that use primers and powder, but what we're going to talk about here is why this is actually the first line of defense. Bear spray, or a bear deterrent, basically is like a hot pepper cloud. And if you've ever gotten something in your nose, whether it's ammonia or chlorine or something, you literally cannot ignore it. You have to get away. You can't overcome it and march towards the source. That's sort of how tear gas works. But anyway, bear spray is basically designed to bother bears. And so, yeah, you could use it on other animals. Some people try it on mountain lions, badgers, whatever, even people. It doesn't work as well, but it definitely works, but not as well as on bears. It's designed specifically to deter bears, to make them move away from wherever they're going. And so you have to use this stuff when the bear is close enough for this actually to work. But that's okay because there's a decision process. If you see a bear, it doesn't mean anything's wrong. There are bears all over the place. I see them all the time. But if the bear's close, or you're being, like in the case of the woman just recently who was a cycle tourist on the Great Divide Trail, she was in Ovando, which is not terribly far from me, less than an hour drive from me, where I'm standing right now, where she was killed. But anyway, she was dragged out of a tent at about 4 a.m. She did not have bear spray with her. There's a question as to whether or not there were some other issues, such as food in the tent. I won't get into that, but other people, when they heard her in distress, came running out, sprayed the bear. The bear immediately ran away. That's what the bears generally do. You have to have it. You have to be able to deploy it. Now, it is wind sensitive because basically it's like a cloud of spray, but it's not quite as sensitive that, you'd think maybe I shouldn't use it. No, use it anyway. It's just whether or not it gets you and the bear. And I've known people who've sprayed themselves. I've known people who've had these go off in packs, who've tripped and deployed it. There was even a story, I think it was in Wyoming, where a guy got attacked and couldn't get it off of his belt. It was stuck on, and the bear actually bit his hip, which means he also bit the bear deterrent, which means that it sprayed out and got both of them, but the bear left. Pretty lucky. But anyway, it has to be handy. So I've got lots of different ways to carry it, and you have to be able to deploy it fast, to pop the top and spray it. I've sprayed these. Basically, you can go quite a ways, 20, 25 feet. Reasonably accurate. These particular bear sprays have been tested on actual bears. It's not something that's, an assumption. And there's plenty of examples of people who have deployed them, and it has stopped the bear or stopped the attack. The reason it works is because the person lived to tell the story. Now, if you choose other methods, those that might involve, lead moving at high speed, the problem is several-fold. One is, in order to, maybe give yourself enough time for the deployment you've chosen to work, the bear would have been further away and maybe not even a threat, or maybe just rumbling or whatever, and now you've made it mad. This you deploy within 50 or 30 feet or something until it runs in closer, sometimes on top of you, and then it runs away. That's how this stuff works. Other methods that involve maybe lead end up making the bear mad, usually, turning a disgruntled bear into an angry bear. But even worse, because of the way impacts work on bears, especially with their slower metabolism, their heavy bone structure, etc., you might have mortally wounded a bear, but it's going to take minutes before the bear settles down, to move into the afterlife, and what happens is it does some significant damage prior to that point. What you need is to stop it instantly, to make it change its mind. Absolutely no question. That's what this is for. Everyone in the party should carry it. Don't use it, unless you feel threatened or you're curious, simply because you're only allowed so much use before it's not good anymore. But it is something that isn't going to hurt the bear. It's not going to hurt you. It might be major pain in the butt and change your trip, but it's definitely safer, especially at night excuse me, than adding some lead to the air in various directions, especially since there's just a few critical areas on a bear that would even slow it down. And so if you are going out, and I hear this all the time in Montana, you're thinking about all kinds of different solutions for bears, get bear spray, period. Or in Alaska, or Idaho or wherever. This is the single most important, most effective solution. And it's inexpensive compared to others. It's about between $30 and $50 for one of these. You can carry it all kinds of different ways. It does have an expiration date, but that's not a big deal considering what you're actually asking it to do. Don't get the small ones. The small ones probably don't have enough distance and amount. These are like for smaller things like people. But basically the larger bear sprays, and they come even bigger than this, seems to be about the minimum size for backcountry use. I use different kinds of containers for them, depending on what. Here's a tactical one. I use a carabiner, clip it to whatever, so it's either on a chest rig, if I'm mountain biking, or on a strap, some way so I can grab it and deploy it. And again, I also use the carabiners that don't hook on anything, so if I want to, there's no hook here, it's just a smooth release, so I can slide this right back out. And then you have to be able to get it fast, because a lot of bear situations that go out of control happen within seconds. So you don't keep it in your pack, you don't keep it in a water bottle holster that you can't get too fast, and you need to know how to work it, to deploy it. And you should be able to do that in the dark, say in a tent or something like that, if you had to pull it out and get it ready. But anyway, so if you're coming to Montana, if you're a little concerned, this is the first level. And yes, I know very extensively about all of the others. This is where you start. It's safer for everybody involved, and it is the most effective. So with that, Doc out.